Good morning, Animado, and good morning, Raymond Aqua.
Good morning, Daniel Dazi.
And how was the weekend, guys?
Oh, well, I am always good.
You are always good. Hey, Raymond, did you make it for Prof. Peter Kote's birthday party?
Yes, I was there.
Oh,
it was
wow,
a fantastic one.
On Saturday, right?
Was, yeah.
Belated happy birthday to Prof. Prof, let me use this medium to apologize for being unable to come.
You can send your gifts. It's not too late.
Oh, after the gifts there to come, Prof. Oh, but a very, very belated happy birthday to you, Prof. Peter Kote. Golden Jubilee. He is the head of the economics department. Yeah. He sits on top of the CD Center. Former head of the economics department. Thank you. At the University of Ghana, Legon.
I'm waiting for him to be vice chancellor.
Ish. Prophetic Raymond Aqua. But the Habitat Fair was this weekend from Friday through Sunday.
Yes.
And this was a great deal. I was telling Sandra Senamapeno last night that at the Habitat Fair that I built a house, I painted it, I've bought roofing sheets, I've got insurance.
Yes, he's done everything.
When I'm inviting you people for my housewarming in December, you see that it's not only in my head. But I mean, it was a great deal.
Yeah, don't make promises you can't keep.
I didn't say which year.
Is that December?
I didn't say which year.
It could be December 2078.
Which are December?
Yeah, so there was the Habitat Fair, which was really exciting.
It was really exciting.
Then, go on.
I was really happy to see the satisfied customers and the vendors there who got so many persons coming around to make inquiries, to make purchases. It was great.
Yeah, it was. And Babes won his match as well.
And by babes, you mean who? A baby in
Joshua.
Well, congratulations to Anthony Joshua. Raymond, is that a hint of jealousy I see on your face?
No, not at all.
No, he's lost. Remember that last week it was Malik.
Because I care little about a certain
about
Joshua,
babes.
Clearly. I mean,
you can't care little about any more babes. Come on.
Anyway.
Okay, let's do the front pages and we are starting with you, Raymond.
Yes, the New Crusading Guide is reporting this morning Abra Dunkwa in flames at youth descent on foreigners over murder, and Sojaman DC fires detractors, claims renovation cost was inflated, and discuss, he says, they are very false claims. Anyway, why Alfred Obin was sacked from Bust. Apenyomakin spills the beans. That's on the front page of the New Crusading Guide too. But Tema East NDC executives are saying something. They are saying Bagbin is God's gift to Ghana.
On the front page of the Herald, bribery and blackmail cited in Star Times deal. First Lady gets cash and gifts as president falls for Chinese Exim loans. NPP youth unhappy with Osafo Maafo over Opon Krume's presidential ambition. And I'm ready for Akufo-Addo's handcuffs. Valerie Sawyer charges and shreds forensic audit.
The Daily Guide is reporting this morning ex-GSA boss, that's the Ghana Standards Authority boss, hots over $1.2 million kickback, and audit service top shot trade blows. That's on the front page of the Daily Guide this morning.
On the front page of the Chronicle, free SHS leads to business boom at Kumasi Central Markets. Police intelligence working to perfection. Veep's security guard killer grabbed. Bogosu cop assassin also smoked out. That's the Ghanaian Chronicle.
The Economic Times is reporting this morning the government records 2.8% fiscal deficit for the first 6 months of 2018. And listen, total public debt stock now 159 billion Ghana cedis, and Ghana's Cocoa Board seeks additional 300 million from lenders. Those are the stories that the Economic Times present this morning.
On the front page of the Finder, $1.3 billion Cocoa Board loan to rescue the CD, $650 million to hit Bank of Ghana's accounts from October 4th. Auditor General Board Chair must cease fire. That's according to Afenyo Markin. 12,000 kidney failures in Ghana each year. Government donates relief items to flood victims in Upper East and West regions, and consumers paying 9% less for fuel due to government interventions, as according to Peter Ameu.
Now, the Daily Dispatch is reporting this morning filing fee for NDC's presidential slot could be 350,000 Ghana cedis, and there's a full text of first independent speech by Dr. Kwame Nkrumah also in the Daily Dispatch. But you talked about Amewu. Now, John Jinapo, a former deputy minister, is saying Amawu lacks knowledge about the energy sector. And this is in connection with his commentary and the press conference he did last Thursday.
And the Daily Statesman, President Akufo-Addo leaves for Mali UN General Assembly. How Ghana lost $1.5 million monthly on Mohammed's $126 million dirty water deal. Government to expand school feeding program. That's the front page of the Daily Statesman.
Now, the BNFT is reporting this morning that tiny voices from the streets, the children left behind, and 63% of bankers want out of profession. That's a survey, and they say they are living borrowed lives. And research could have actually kept banking sector crisis. That's also on the front page of the BNFT.
On the front page of the Daily Heritage, Star Times row, Ghana's DDT not handed over to Chinese firm. Communications Ministry fights back, but minority MP does not believe the minister. Nungwa Ice Block Factory nears completion. 200 bags of cement donated to fire service, and up in cement shop 136 sold. Church builds 400,000 CD road for residents of La Paz. That's the Daily Heritage.
The Daily Graphic is my very last paper before me, and it says here, chief shot dead at Fire Festival. Don't disclose illness of third parties, patients' illnesses to third parties. This is the Confirmatory Teaching Hospital CEO, Dr. Hineba Danso, saying that. And brouhaha over digital terrestrial TV, new entity to manage platform. That is the biggest story on the front page of the Daily Graphic.
And finally, from me, I am on the front page of the Ghanaian Times. Irate youth on rampage torch houses at Abra Dunkwa. Kidney-related diseases alarming. That's according to Dr. Kote. After severe rainstorms in northern region, floods claim 32 lives, render many homeless, and wash away crops. And on the back page, Ho has been hailed as the cleanest regional capital.
Oh, interesting.
I have a headline that will interest you guys.
Please.
Yas triumph over Kugis in opening contest of Love FM High School debate.
Yeah.
Yes, the Love FM High School debate kicked off over the weekend, and Yas Antwa Girls Senior High School won the first contest against Kumasi Girls. Guess what the motion for the debate was?
What?
It was government is responsible for the failure of the banks.
Yeah.
Yes, and Kugis, that's Kumasi Girls, argued for the motion that government is responsible. Congratulations to them as well, Janet Opoku-Agyeman, that's principal speaker, and his supporter Emmanuela Bedu. They were talking about how the Bank of Ghana's 400 million CD minimum capital requirements is one of the things that is responsible. But then Precious Ikia Inchi, aided by Nicole Osei-Wusu of YAS, they made the point that it is poor corporate governance in the banking sector that is responsible for the failure of the banks. And so they won that debate.
Good
Congratulations.
Job, guys. Yeah.
Particularly
really
handling an issue that took me weeks to understand. I mean, that's simply, these are some really...
Yes, and for Kumasi Girls, clearly, yes, it was a wonderful school. It's substandard to some extent, but Kumasi Girls too, they are trying.
Kumasi Girls is also trying very, very hard. So the second contest was between St. Louis Senior High School and Ekrofrom Senior High School. St. Louis won, and the contest between Opoku-Ware School and Konongo Dumasi Senior High School has been rescheduled for today.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I'm supporting Konongo Dumasi.
Me too.
Yeah.
I need to go for
allowing some.
No. I need to support my sons, like our sons, Prempeh College, like to do the work. So that's where my vote is for the Love FM High School.
College is Kumasi Presec.
Oh, Prempeh College is an offshoot of Enfance. Every day I have to educate you on this.
They admit they are Kumasi Presec. You are introducing your own.
There's another. What's the school that made it for the final
Please
of
don't
the Science and Maths quiz? What's the name of the school?
The Adenta Presec.
Adenta Presec. That's one. Yeah. That is the Presec. That is the Prempeh colleges. The sounds of the fans people. All right. So, guys, let's start with the stories this morning. And the floods killing 32 people.
Yes. So the number of deaths recorded in the recent floods in the northern region has risen to 32. The director of NADMO in the northern region, Alhaji Abdullah Hinda, who disclosed this and said this, he said that, he's expressing regret that people continue to die every day in the area as a result of the incessant rains. According to him, the regional secretariat of NADMO is overwhelmed with the number of deaths being recorded. Now, he visited the flooded communities in the West Mamprusi and parts of Yadba and Savulugu, and he says that the situation is very severe. Thousands of acres of various crops in the affected districts in the regions have been washed away by the floods, and a lot of people have been rendered homeless. People are dying, being swept away by the waters, but also some of the structures that they live in are crumbling and falling. A lot of the bodies have not been recovered in the situations where the houses fell. In related news, the Vice President has been in the Upper East region where there is also major flooding, but this is due to not just the rain but also the spillage of the Bagre Dam in Burkina Faso, and it's causing serious problems there. Same problems as well. People losing their homes and also crops being washed away. Acres and acres of farms being washed away. The paramount chief of the area, the Talensi traditional area, is using this to reiterate and urgently ask that government will construct the Paulugu multipurpose dam to help harvest spilled rain and also the water that is coming from Burkina Faso. I'm
curious to find what exactly came out of that meeting between the president of Ghana and the president of Burkina Faso.
Yeah.
It will be very important for us to make these permanent decisions and resolutions about the spilling of the Bagre Dam so that we know what we are going to do going forward.
Yes,
yeah. But Raymond, let's move on into some other matters. Over the weekend, there was fireworks on Newsfile.
Yes, it was pretty exciting.
Yeah,
I mean, clearly.
You people, you Joy FM people.
No, there's a quote that ought to be repeated. What have you signed?
Ghanaians to.
Yes, what have you signed Ghanaian to? Madam Minister, tell the people of this republic, what have you signed Ghanaians to? Then the response is, there's no loan. The loan agreement is not yet in. But okay, the crux of this agreement is pretty simple.
You mean the DTT agreement?
Yes,
take us to the beginning.
Yes. The understanding here, this digital terrestrial TV, right? Now, the ministry is saying that there's a new entity that's going to manage the platform, and that it's not going to be Star Times and their Chinese friends or the Chinese company that's going to do that particular management. The minister is insisting that the grouping Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association has not been very clear on what it wants it to do for them in this particular case, contrary to what StarTimes are provided for and what government is engaging StarTimes on. The minister also insists that there is a lot of engagement that's already happened around this, and it will not be railroaded, that's the ministry, to not be railroaded into following the directions of GEBA, especially when it is acting in the interest of Ghanaians. I know the question has been asked whether GEBA 2 is not Ghanaian grouping, but that matter is even not a substantive one.
I think the question was, who should they represent? Should they represent market women?
In the communications ministry. Anyway, so much of the conversation has been that StarTimes was taken over. Ministry says no one. StarTimes actually is going to occupy the space. Ministry says that's not going to happen. But ministry says it has signed an agreement, but there's a framework within which the agreement is supposed to go through. That's a contract. That framework has not been put in place yet. The framework expired in 2017. So they are now working on a new framework, which may determine whether or not which may determine specifically the loan terms and whether or not you have to hand over in this particular case. The ministry is, however, promising, and she did so. Madam Eslosu Ekufo did so clearly on this file that they will put Ghanaian interests first. They will make sure that Ghana is not shortchanged in all of this. There's, however, the confusion whether or not the contract signed in any way will be pursued in the direction of the framework, and whether we have the mantle, because it became clear to many that StarTimes really was not because we loved and wanted to give them something, or because we had an agreement with them or arbitration with them that insisted we should do so. It was because we needed something from the Chinese, and this is like a sine qua non to getting that from the Chinese, which is why the framework had to be put in place to determine how that is done in this particular case.
So my difficulty would be, since we have already signed the contract with StarTimes itself, but we are waiting to go and sign the framework agreement with Exim Bank, so that we can get the loan from Exim Bank, so that the contracts with StarTimes can come in place. And we know that this was not because we had a weak case or what whatever, but it has been confirmed by the ministry that this was because we wanted to access other facilities from China, i.e. this bauxite deal and what have you. Remember, be informed that Ghana has tried to get some 60 billion from China over the past 30 years. We could not. We got only about 4.5 to 5 billion. And so we've already had a difficulty getting money from China. How assured are we that in light of all of these things, we are at a good we are at a good foot on the negotiating table? When we go and negotiate, how good a footing are we?
So, basis in negotiation don't come from the weak position. Don't portray you're even coming from the weak position. So, if you happen to have actually had go capping, I'm saying that we need the money.
Exactly, and that is why we have signed a contract with StarTimes.
You really would have to show that you need the money, and the Chinese, they are not stupid people. They would want to get as much from you. So it will be difficult for me to be convinced that Ghana can hold its own in a very wonderful way against the Chinese, especially when we are the ones up there begging.
Anyway, this conversation is not over. We'll deal with it more adequately during the show. But anyway, let's move on into government ordering a forensic audit into BOST.
Yes, and this audit is supposed to be from the year 2013 to 2018. So Mr. John Peter Amewu, who is the Minister of Energy, has said that this has been necessitated by the financial recklessness uncovered by a presidential committee that was tasked into looking into the financial position of the company. Now, this committee recently presented their report, and it spoke of the poor state of the company's finances and blaming it primarily on financial indiscipline and recklessness. Now, I cited a few things, and I'm just going to tell you about a few of them. The first one was the unprofitable tolling arrangement with the Tema Oil Refinery between 2015 and 2016, under which the refinery processed crude oil on behalf of BOST at a fee. Now, Mr. Amewu says that this is what was happening. BOST was procuring its own crude oil and shipping it to the refinery for processing into refined petroleum products. And then it was selling the products to the domestic and export markets. He said that the tolling of $5.5 per metric ton was on the high side, comparing it to the international average tolling fee of $3.5 per metric ton. So there was a $2 difference. Added to this was the higher than normal imported crude oil premium. Mr. Amewu also said that the cost of processing the crude oil with all its expenses did not make the transaction profitable. He added that during the tolling arrangement with TOR, yields received from the processed crude oil were lower than expected. Therefore, the gross product worth from the refined products was far less than the cost of crude oil that was being purchased, and the company incurred losses from this transaction. Now, he also spoke of trade losses resulting from under recoveries. He said that it had a take or pay agreement with Trafigura and other traders, which far exceeded BOST capacity to sell to the market. The effect was that in times of price drops, BOST incurred far more losses because it always held high stocks of petroleum products in its storage facilities, and that created under recoveries. He also touched on repayments of existing loans from trade receivables, and he said that funds that were supposed to be used for payments of products purchases were being used to repay loans. The last thing he said was that about 60% of funds from BOST margin payments was pledged for the repayment of the Standard Chartered loan, adding that it was using part of its trade receivables to fund its daily operations of about 300 million Ghana cedis per year, and this created a massive hole in its dealings.
Thank you very much, Enima, for that detailed presentation of government plans for BOST. Now, Raymond, let's move into the banking sector, shall we?
Yes, there's a survey that's been done by Accreti Human Capital Consultancy. What they are saying is that here in Ghana, the report is dubbed the Human Resource Banking Survey. Here in Ghana, 2/3 of the bankers want to leave their job. The crux of their problems is that they are living beyond their means. They are being asked to wear expensive suits and shiny shoes, which they can't pay for. Their bonuses are not enough, and there is extreme inequality in the distribution of salaries in that particular sector. So the survey also suggests that many, which is about 70%, they are not satisfied with their salaries. 46% want their salaries increased, and 20% too want some addition to what they currently are actually getting. And the expression that the report uses is a borrowed life, actually, in this particular case. The findings also show that 78% of the respondents want a more flexible working environment, and they say they are being given, as about 79% believes that they are being given unrealistic and unattainable targets, making it very difficult for them to survive within the space. Of course, this is a sector that's currently under a lot of stress and it needs a lot of help.
Exactly.
But if 2/3 want to live it, we should be able to save what from the veneer looks like a very lucrative job.
Okay, now we are going to move on into other issues now. Anyone, let's go on.
So there's 12,000 kidney failures in Ghana each year, which seems to be very serious. But even with this report coming out by the Dialysis Service Foundation, 12,000 does not fully capture the number of kidney failures, because this is only capturing the people who are able to go to the hospitals and who are able to afford this service. So dialysis generally costs about 250 cedis per session, and you need 12 to 14 sessions per month. So it comes up to about 3,000 Ghana cedis a month. So there's a foundation which has been set up, and this foundation needs about 2.5 million Ghana cedis to be able to provide basic treatment required to survive kidney disease.
Well, 12,000 is a lot of people, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think it's something that we must definitely take seriously. Raymond, in a heartbeat, let's talk about this filing fee for NDC presidential candidates.
The Daily Dispatch is picking up signals. Their political desk is indicating that credible reports suggest that they are going to be paying 350,000. So if you are one of the 11 and you are lacing your boots to go contest the NDC's presidential primaries, be ready to have somewhere around 350,000.
350,000?
Yes. But this is part of the efforts to raise money for an opposition party. You know that they will require money to contest the incumbent in the year 2020. So you should show how resourceful you are. That has been the argument in times past. But it is believed that the party at some meeting pretty soon will determine whether or not they will still go ahead with this amount of money or reduce it to favor the masses, the people who may not be as resourceful as they ought to be as presidential candidates.
So it comes back to, how do political parties fund their activities again?
Yes, you have to pay dues. And there's an elaborate plan. They said they are even hoping that if you are a signed up member, you should pay 10 cedi to support the incoming campaign in some ways. Anyway.
That's another interesting way. Guys, let's move on. And you know, Raymond, when you were talking about how bankers say they are not receiving enough bonuses, you know, in the UK since December 2009, there was the new bank payroll tax, which is a special one-off levy of 50% on any individual discretionary bonus above £25,000, and this raked in 3.4 billion by March 2010. Pounds.
No, but the bankers outside of Ghana make really good money. I mean, especially with their bonuses, because I have a few friends who, they work in the US. I mean, and they look forward to their bonuses because it's massive.
It's really impressive. So when Professor Chaudhry joins us this morning, I'll be curious to find out exactly what makes the banking sector, I mean, beyond the obvious that only 30% of Ghanaians are banked now, and abroad it's a much higher number. But what makes it so lucrative so that they are able to rake in so much taxes there? And what makes the difference here? So that's something to look forward to when we have that conversation today with Professor Sajid Mokhtar Chaudhry. Now, the online news review is brought to you by Zenith Bank in your best interest, Goyle Good Energy, and you can download the Safe Doctor app now from Google Play. Safe Doctor, the future of better medical care. If you've got great love for your vehicle, you want the engine to last longer and perform to its maximum, it's okay. Goyle has the new super synthetic 5W20 and 5W30 lubricants for you. These specially engineered superior engine oils work efficiently on all modern petrol and diesel engines. They clean, protect, reduce fuel consumption, prolong oil change intervals, and enhance engine performance from startup till you switch off. Go to any Goyle filling station and grab the new Goyle Super Synthetic 5W20 and 5W30 lubes. Engineering innovation for your vehicle has arrived. Now, Goyle always tells you Goyle has good energy. Now, Zenith Bank is 13 years and it's been 13 years of serving you with pleasure and making history with you. So on behalf of the board, management and staff, Zenith Bank wishes to thank you, our valued customers, for your continued support and loyalty over the years. Because you trusted us with your business, Zenith Bank is bigger, stronger and faster. We invite you to join us for our 13th anniversary health walk on Saturday, September 29, 2018. That's this very Saturday. The venue will be Zenith Bank head office on the Independence Avenue at 6 a.m. prompt. Come, let's walk and celebrate. Zenith Bank, in your best interest. Now, the online news review is brought to you by My Joy Online. Well, it's brought to you by Zenith Bank, Goyle, and the Save Doctor app. The My Joy Online, myjoyonline.com begins with us. Giba Kanos dictates the pace of digital migration. Ursula speaking there. Public debt stock reaches 159 billion cedis in August. Governments receive $30 million World Bank support to strengthen financial sector. Fuel shortage imminent as tanker drivers threaten strike. Unfortunately, we may have to buy fuel very, very quickly this week. Other online stories. BBC says Tiger Woods wins Tour Championship as Justin Rose secures FedEx Cup. You want to follow that later on the BBC.com. We're going to be back later after these important messages, after which we take the BBC News at 7. Stay with us. This is the Super Morning Show.
This life before